Pleasant morning to everyone. Good day to everyone. Before we start our class, let us have a short opening prayer. Let us bow our heads and feel the presence of the Lord as we adore His holy name in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord, true source of light and of wisdom, give me a keen sense of understanding, a retentive memory, and the capacity to grasp things correctly. Grant me the grace to be accurate in my expositions, and the skill to express myself with thoroughness and clarity. Be with me at the start of my work, guide its progress, and bring it to completion. Grant this through Christ our Lord. Amen. Good day to everyone again. This is a new day in understanding culture, society, and politics. I'll be your guide to exploring the wonderful world of UCSP. I'm Sir Kyle Malap. Before we move on to our discussion, let us have a short review or recap about our previous discussion. So, in our previous discussion, we learned about socialization and enculturation. Now, for a person to become a bona fide or a bona fide member of society, he or she must go through these processes called socialization and enculturation. What do we mean when we say bona fide in English or in Latin, bona fide? Kapag sinabi nating bona fide member of society, it is a person or it means that a person is true, legitimate, and recognized member in a particular society. Not just by name, but by actually living according to the norms, values, and culture of that society. It is someone who has gone through socialization and enculturation, and now that person is truly part of that particular community. And these processes, socialization and enculturation, may result to first is yung tinatawag nating identity formation. Kapag sinabi nating identity formation, this is the development of an individual's distinct personality. Meaning, ito yung development na nangyayari sa atin bilang isang tao or yung mga unique traits natin, unique values, and even our behaviors na bumubuo sa pagkatao natin bilang isang tao. We also have other terminologies relating to identity formation. Unang-una is yung tinatawag nating social affiliations. Kapag sinabi nating social affiliations, ito yung mga grupong kinabibilangan natin bilang isang tao. Self-concept. Kapag sinabi nating self-concept, ito yung kung paano natin nakikita yung sarili natin. And self-awareness, kapag sinabi naman natin self-awareness, ito yung pagkilala or we are aware of our strengths, weaknesses, and even yung role sa ating, and even yung role natin sa society. Now, we have different kinds of identities. Ito yung mga pagkakakilala natin based on our culture, beliefs, values, and even our traditions and practices. We call it cultural identity. Kung paano tayo nagiging kabilang sa isang kultura. Other than cultural identity, we have ethnic identity. What about ethnic identity? Sa ethnic identity, nakabase tayo sa isang ethnic group na pinagmulan natin bilang isang tao. Halimbawa na lamang yung pagiging Ilocano, Kapampangan, o Tagalog ng isang tao. And kasama na sa ethnic identity ng isang tao kung paano tayo magkaroon ng unique language and customs o yung mga kagawian natin bilang isang tao. national identity. Ito naman yung pagkakakilanlan natin bilang bahagi tayo ng iisang nation or country. And tayo bilang isang Pilipino, kabilang tayo sa iisang bansang Pilipinas. Dito natin makikita sa national identity natin, yung pagiging Filipino natin, nagpapakita tayo ng patriotism sa pamamagitan ng paggalang sa ating watawat and sa pambansang awit natin. Next kind of identities is yung religious identity. Sa religious identity naman, dito tayo nakabase sa faith or religion na sinusunod natin bilang isang tao. Ito yung pananampalataya at relihiyon natin bilang isang tao. Halimbawa na lamang sa pagiging Kristiyano ng isang tao, pagiging Muslim, Buddhist, Islam, at dito din makikita yung mga values na galing sa isang relihiyon. Yung pagiging parte natin sa isang relihiyon. And lastly, we have master identity. Ano naman yung master identity? Kapag sinabi nating master identity, from the word itself, master, ito yung core identity na hindi madaling magbago sa atin. Katulad ng gender natin, ng edad natin or ng age natin, and even our race. Ito yung pagiging babae or lalaki ng isang tao, pagiging youth, teenager, or even adult ng isang tao. These are the different kinds of identities na makikita natin sa isang tao. Again, we have cultural, ethnic, national, religious, and master identities. And bilang isang tao, dapat alam din natin or magkaroon din tayo ng sense of self. Dito sa sense of self, pumapasok or we ask ourselves, no? Unang-una, who am I as a person? Sino ba ako bilang isang tao? Dito pumapasok again yung tinatawag nating self-concept. No? Kung paano natin nakikita or kilalanin yung sarili natin bilang isang tao. Dito din pumapasok yung mga iba't ibang beliefs or iba't ibang mga paniniwala natin. Yung mga pinapaniwalaan natin bilang isang tao. Aside from asking ourselves, who am I as a person? We should ask ourselves also, how good am I as a person? Gaano ba ako kabuti bilang isang tao? Dito pumapasok yung pagkakaroon natin ng self-esteem, worthiness, self-efficacy, and even our accomplishments and achievements na napagtagumpayan natin sa ating buhay. Let's move on to norms. Ano naman ang norms? Kapag sinabi nating norms or norm, ito yung rule na nag-guide ng behavior natin bilang kabilang tayo sa isang lipunan or sa isang society or even sa isang grupo. We see norms as the rules of behavior that are part of a group's ideology. Dito makikita natin na yung mga norms natin, dahil sila yung nagsisilbi bilang rules or bilang mga rules ng behavior natin na bahagi ng isang ideology ng isang grupo, makikita natin that they tell us what is acceptable or unacceptable. At tumutulong din ito para magkaroon tayo ng order sa isang lipunan or sa isang community. Normal, on the other hand, is the act of abiding by this rule. Kapag tayo sumusunod tayo sa mga norms ng lipunan, then we consider ourselves as a normal being. Normal ang behavior natin bilang isang tao. Halimbawa na lamang, normal na sa atin ang gumalang sa mga teachers sa loob ng classroom. Normal na sa atin ang gumalang sa mga nakakatanda at sa mga taong nakapaligid sa atin. Normative, on the other hand, pertains to what we perceive as normal or what we think should be normal, regardless of whether it actually is. Ito naman ay tungkol sa what we perceive as normal. Kung ano yung tingin natin na dapat na makita natin na normal sa isang tao. Kahit minsan, hindi naman talaga ganun in reality. Halimbawa na lamang yung paniniwala natin na lahat ng estudyante dapat mag-aral ng mabuti. kahit hindi naman lahat ay sumusunod dito. We have other related terminologies katulad ng social sanction and legal sanction. Social sanction, ito yung approval or disapproval ng lipunan or society batay sa behavior natin bilang isang tao. Halimbawa ng social sanction is yung pagkakaroon or natin ng pagpuri sa isang tao kapag sumusunod tayo sa mga batas or even yung pangungutya natin kapag ang isang tao ay lumalabag sa mga batas. Those are an example of social sanction. Legal sanction on the other hand, ito naman is yung pagkakaroon natin ng corporal or formal punishment or reward na galing sa batas. Halimbawa ng legal sanction is yung pagbabayad natin ng multa kapag lumalabag tayo sa traffic rules. Now, some norms are prescriptive. Pag sinabi nating prescriptive norms, ito yung mga norms that state what we should not do or stating what we should not do. Ito yung mga norms na nagsasabi kung ano ang hindi natin dapat gawin. Halimbawa, huwag magnanakaw. Huwag tayong magnanakaw. Huwag tayong papatay. Those are an example of prescriptive norms. Prescriptive norms, on the other hand, ito naman yung nagsasabi or stating what we should do. Ano ba yung mga dapat nating gawin? Halimbawa na lamang, for example, yung magbigay galang tayo sa mga nakakatanda. That is an example of prescriptive norms. Ano naman yung mores and folkways? Kapag sinabi nating mores, ito yung norms na may significance, no? And kapag tayo lumabag dito sa mga mores na ito, maaaring makita tayo ng ibang tao as an immoral person. Folkways on the other hand, ito naman yung mga norms from the word itself, folk, yung mga ordinary customs or nakagawian na natin or naging habit na natin bilang isang tao. And kapag nilabag natin ito, it is less serious. Halimbawa na lang kapag kumakain tayo gamit yung kamay natin, especially yung mga taong nasa probinsya. No? Yung pagsusuot natin ng tamang attire sa loob ng classroom, that is also an example of a folkway. Now let's move on with values. Pag sinabi nating values, these are culturally defined standards that people use, ginagamit natin bilang isang tao to decide what is desirable, good, and beautiful. And that serve as a broad guidelines for social living. Dito, nagkakaroon tayo ng mga values is yung nakabase sa kultura natin, nakabase sa standard ng kultura natin and ginagamit natin bilang isang tao para mag-decide kung ano ba yung desirable, kung ano ba yung maganda, kung ano ba yung maganda sa paningin natin. And these serve as a broad social or they serve as a broad guidelines for social living. Meaning, sila yung nagbibigay sa atin ng direksyon. Sila yung nagbibigay sa atin ng direksyon kung paano tayo dapat kumilos at makisalamuha sa loob ng isang lipunan. Halimbawa na lamang, pagkakaroon natin ng respeto sa mga elders, pagkakaroon natin ng honesty and even bayanihan. These are the Filipino values that we have that also guide our behavior in our daily life. We have four aspects of value and ano yun. First, we have values exist at different levels of generality and or abstraction. Meaning, they can be broad or yung mga values natin, they can be broad or specific depending on how we use it. Second, values tend to be hierarchically arranged. Dito mayroon silang hierarchy. Ibig sabihin, some values we consider them as more important than the others. Ito yung nagiging guide ng priorities natin or ng isang lipunan. Halimbawa na lamang, meron tayong high-level values katulad ng justice, freedom, and respect. Meron tayong lower level values na mas specific and mas practical katulad ng punctuality, neatness, and politeness. Values are explicit and implicit. Kapag sinabi nating explicit value, ito yung mga values na klaro or malinaw sa atin, malinaw na ipinapahayag ng lipunan or ng isang tao. Halimbawa ng explicit values is yung madalas nating naririnig that honesty is the best policy. Yung honesty is the best policy. It is openly taught sa school at sa family. Implicit values naman, how is it different from explicit? Kapag sinabi nating implicit value, ito naman yung hindi diretsong sinasabi sa atin. Pero makikita natin sa actions, traditions, and even sa daily practices. No? Halimbawa ng implicit is yung pagbibigay natin ng respeto sa mga nakakatanda kahit walang formal rule. Dahil natural na nakikita natin at ginagawa ito ng lahat. Values are often in conflict with one another. Values are not always aligned, meaning madalas nagkakaroon tayo ng conflict. Minsan kailangan natin pumili kung alin yung mas priority value natin kapag nagbanggaan na sila. Halimbawa na lamang, let's say for example, yung honesty versus kindness natin. Yung honesty or yung pagsasabi natin ng truth or ng totoo might hurt someone's feeling or yung kindness ng isang tao. No? Aside from that, meron tayong freedom versus security, equality versus excellence. Makita natin dito na values are often in conflict. Those are the four aspects of values. And values and beliefs not only affect how we see our surroundings, but, but also help form our personalities. Yung mga values na meron tayo bilang isang tao, yung mga paniniwala natin bilang isang tao, hindi lang nakakaapekto kung paano makita natin yung nasa paligid natin, no? Kung paano tayo magkaroon ng ideya kung ano yung mga nasa paligid natin. But these two help form our personalities. Dito din nade-develop yung personalidad natin bilang isang tao. Now, let's move on to Jamie Bulatao's four basic Filipino values. Mahalaga na maintindihan natin ano ba yung mga basic Filipino values na meron tayo, especially bilang isang Pilipino. Unang-una, we are emotional or we have emotional closeness and security in a particular family. Dito dapat makita natin na sa kultura natin bilang isang Pilipino, malaking halaga ng pamilya sa Filipino culture yung pagkakaroon natin ng closeness sa family natin. Makikita natin that our family should provide the love, all the love, the support, the guidance, and even our security. Next is yung approval from authority of society. Isa rin sa Filipino values na meron tayo is yung paghangad natin ng recognition and acceptance mula sa mga iba't ibang mga authority figures sa loob ng isang community. Halimbawa na lamang yung paggalang natin sa mga teachers, sa elders, and even our leaders. And yung simple way natin ng paghingi ng blessing sa kanila or yung pagmamano. Number three, we have economic and social betterment. Kapag sinabi natin economic and social betterment, isa rin itong Filipino values na meron tayo that we need, desire or the need to improve one's life conditions. Dito pumapasok yung financial stability, education, and even our social status. Halimbawa na lang kung paano tayo magsimikap, mag-aral at magtrabaho para makaangat ang pamilya. And lastly, we are known as a Filipino to have patience, endurance, and suffering. Dito, one of the Filipino values that we have is yung pagiging matyaga natin at yung pagtitiis natin despite hardships in our life. No? Halimbawa na lamang yung bahala na attitude na meron tayo. Yung, dito natin makikita yung pagtitiis sa hirap ng trabaho para sa kinabukasan natin. Next, we have status. Kapag sinabi natin status, it refers to a social position that a person holds. Ito yung pinangahawakan na posisyon ng isang tao. According to Linton 1936, he is an American sociologist. He defines status simply as a position in a social system. Dito makikita natin yung pagkakaroon ng status or posisyon ng isang tao. Nakakapekto ito kung paano sila makipag-interact at mag-behave sa mga iba't ibang mga tao. Now, we have two basic type of status. Una we have ascribed status. Kapag sinabi natin ascribed status, this is fixed for an individual at birth. These include those based upon sex, age, race, ethnic group, and family background. Achieved status on the other hand, ito naman yung mga na-acquire natin bilang isang individual during our lifetime because of the exercise of our knowledge, ability, skill, and our perseverance. Ano naman yung role? No? Aside from having status or kapag merong posisyon ng isang tao, dito pumapasok yung pagkakaroon niya ng role. Kapag sinabi natin role, this is the set of norms or different set of norms, values, behaviors, and even personality characteristics attached to our status. An individual may play one or more role. Halimbawa, bilang isang teachers, there are a lot of roles of being teachers. Not only you teach as a teacher, but also you are an advisor. You are you should be the one to guide and support your students. And ikaw rin yung nag-check ng mga activities and assignments. Those are the different roles that a teacher has. Aside from being a teacher, for example, you as a student, your status is a student and you have different roles. Hindi lang kayo nag-aaral but sumusunod din kayo sa mga iba't ibang mga batas, iba't ibang mga rules, nakikipag-cooperate kayo sa inyong mga classmates. And from this, makikita natin na having a status or isang tao, pwede magkaroon ng isang estado. And kapag nagkaroon ng isang posisyon ng isang tao, dito pumapasok yung pagkakaroon natin ng mga iba't ibang mga gampanin or roles. Remember that it is Robert Merton who introduced the term role. A person holds a status and performs a specific role. Now, what about role conflict? Ano naman kapag sinabi natin role conflict? This stems from the challenging and opposing pressures of two or more roles that struggle for our time and attention. No? Of course, kapag mayroong dalawa or git panggampanin ng isang tao, we struggle for our time and attention. Halimbawa na lang, if a student's role is different if the individual is a full-time student or he or she is a working student. Now, let's move on with conformity and deviance. No? Ano ba yung social control? Dito pumapasok yung social control or yung mga paraan kung paano natin pinapanatili yung society natin o yung order sa society natin, yung mga norms and discipline ng isang tao. Pumapasok dito yung mga iba't ibang mga kilos. Meron tayong tinatawag na social control. Dito sa informal control, pumapasok yung gossip and social ostracism. Ano ba ang gossip? Simply mean when you say gossip, ito yung kapag pinag-uusapan ng isang tao or kapag alam natin yung isang tao personally na lumalabag na tayo sa mga iba't ibang mga norms. Social ostracism on the other hand, ito naman kapag iniiwasan or tinataboy na natin yung isang tao from his or her organization dahil sa kanyang deviant behavior. Dito rin pumapasok yung pagkakaroon natin ng formal social control katulad na lamang ng laws and punishment. No? Ito yung mga legal na paraan and yung mga parusa natin kapag ang isang tao ay lumalabag sa mga iba't ibang mga batas. Let us define what is deviance. Kapag sinabi natin deviance, this is the opposite of conformity. Kapag sinabi natin conformity, ito yung pagsunod natin sa mga norms at rules ng isang society. Deviance, on the other hand, this is a behavior, trait, belief, or other attributes that defies or violates a norm and triggers an undesirable outcome. Ito naman yung paglabag or pag-define natin sa mga norms. Halimbawa, yung pag-cheat natin sa exam, that is our behavior. Ito yung pagkakaroon natin ng extreme beliefs na taliwas sa accepted values natin. Halimbawa, yung pagiging addict or alcoholic, that is a particular trait or behavior. Now, what is social control? This is a type of functionalist theory that was developed by Travis Ritchie that suggests that deviance occurs o nangyayari ang deviance when a person's or group's attachment to the social bond is weakened. Kapag mahina na ang attachment ng isang tao sa isang social bond. Halimbawa na lang kung ang isang student ay wala ng attachment or mahina na yung kanyang attachment sa kanyang school or family, then mas tumataas or there's a tendency na mas tumaas yung chance na gumawa siya ng deviant acts, katulad na lamang ng pag-cutting classes or paglabag sa mga iba't ibang mga bata sa loob ng classroom. We have different forms of deviance. Unang-una, we have innovation. Kapag sinabi natin innovation, this is the acceptance of goals but not as means of reaching them. Kapag sinabi natin innovation, ito yung nagkakaroon tayo ng acceptance sa layunin ng society, pero hindi tayo sumusunod or hindi natin sinusunod yung mga expected needs. Halimbawa na lang for examples ng innovation as a form of deviance is yung gusto ng isang taong maging successful, that is his or her goal, pero gumagamit naman siya ng cheating or illegal ways. That is his means. That is an example of innovation as a form of deviance. Pangalawa is yung tinatawag nating ritualism. Kapag sinabi nating ritualism, ito yung pag-abandona ng goal natin or ng layunin natin, pero patuloy natin itong ginagawa or patuloy natin ginagawa yung mga expected behaviors. Ang halimbawa ng ritualism is kapag ang isang employee or isang empleyado ay sumusunod pa rin sa mga rules and routines kahit wala na siyang ambisyong umangat. That is a form of deviance called ritualism. Retreatism, on the other hand, is rejecting both goals and means of reaching them. Ano naman ang retreatism? Halimbawa, ang isang tao nagiging addict or alcoholic na. Mas tumataka siya sa norms ng society at hindi na siya tumatanggap ng mga goals nito. That is an example of retreatism. And last form of deviance is yung tinatawag nating rebellion. Kapag sinabi nating rebellion, simply, these seek to substitute new goals and means for existing new goals and means. Halimbawa ng rebellion is yung pagkakaroon natin ng isang revolutionary group na gusto nang palitan yung isang sistema o yung bulok na sistema sa isang lipunan. Ito yung pagkakaroon natin ng mga aktivista, mga communist people. They are also an example of a rebellion as a form of deviance. Now let's move on with human dignity, rights, and the common good. Ano ba ang dignity ng isang tao? Dito pumapasok yung kung ang isang tao ba is considered as a children, considered as a teenager, or even elderly, male or female, Christianity, Buddhism, or others, white or black, rich or poor. We have different concepts concerning human dignity. Unang-una, we have the individual's possession of basic human right. Always remember, my dear students, na bawat tao ay may basic rights. Katulad ng karapatan nating mabuhay, karapatan natin ng magkaroon ng kalayaan, and karapatan din natin magkaroon ng proteksyon. And yung pagkakaroon natin ng mga karapatang ito ay nagpapakita kung paano natin respetuhin yung dignidad ng isang tao. Pangalawa, basic respect of persons. Ang bawat tao ay dapat tratuhin ng may basic respect. No? Ano man ang status ng isang tao, background, or even identity, respect is the foundation of recognizing human dignity. No? Lahat ng tao dapat natin igalang at irespeto. Thus, the human being had a personal worth. It is imperative that we realize na ang isang tao ay may personal worth or halaga na hindi pwede nating sukatin sa pagkakaroon natin ng mga materialis na bagay or material things. Ang dignity ay nakaugat sa tinatawag nating intrinsic value ng isang tao bilang isang tao ay bilang isang human being. Human rights may be explained as those essential rights o yung mga importante sa atin bilang isang tao and for the exercise of human dignity. No? Simple idea. Ang karapatan natin bilang isang tao ay nag-i-exist dahil tayo ay nagkakaroon or meron tayong human dignity. Kung wala tayong human dignity, then wala tayong magiging basehan ng karapatan natin bilang isang tao. And kung wala tayong human rights, hindi rin natin mapapangalagaan ang dignity ng isang tao. Human rights are legal, social, and ethical principles that consider the human person as deserving of liberties and protections by virtue of his or her human dignity. Human dignity and human rights are significant concerns or dapat nating malaman when dealing with socialization and different issues katulad ng deviance and social control. Isa rin mahalagang kailangan natin malaman is pagkakaroon natin ng Universal Declaration of Human Rights or UDHR. This is a vital document that upholds the recognition of human rights. Layunin nito na kilalanin at ipagtanggol ang basic human rights natin bilang isang tao kahit saan man tayo nakatira, anuman ang ating lahi, reliyon, or kultura. We have three human rights. Ito yung tinatawag nating natural rights, statutory rights, and constitutional rights. Let's have first natural rights. Ito yung mga karapatan na likas sa ating tao mula sa ating kapanganakan. And ito hindi binibigay ng gobyerno but this is inherent sa pagiging tao natin. Halimbawa na lamang yung karapatan natin sa buhay, karapatan natin na magkaroon ng kalayaan at pag-aari. No? Statutory rights on the other hand, ito yung mga karapatan na binibigay ng batas na ginawa ng gobyerno. And depende kung magkakaroon or depende ito sa mga legal provision at maaaring magbago kung mayroon bagong batas. Halimbawa sa karapatan natin na magkaroon ng minimum wage, karapatan din ng isang tao na magkaroon ng maternity leave. Those are examples of statutory rights. What about constitutional rights? How is it different from natural and statutory rights? Kapag sinabi natin constitutional rights, from the word itself, constitution, ito yung mga karapatan na nakasaad sa konstitusyon ng isang bansa. Dito, pinoprotektahan ng pinakamataas na batas at hindi basta-basta mababago. Katulad na lamang, for example, ng constitutional rights is yung pagkakaroon natin ng freedom of speech. Karapatan din nating bumoto ng tama, the right to vote, and also the right against self-incrimination. These are examples of constitutional rights that we have as a human being. These are the three human rights. Again, we have natural, statutory, and constitutional rights.